All right, now we're going to shift gears a little bit and focus on age assurance, something which we've been hearing about all day and all year, for that matter. Many of you will know we convened a working group over the past 6 months to look at the many regulatory and technical developments of the past year or two. We published a white paper, which was in your bag, Balancing Safety and Privacy, and a proportionate age assurance approach. And it's also, by the way, on our website. In addition, and with the generous support of Google, we created a short animated video to try and simplify the complexities of age assurance while also conveying its importance to policymakers, industry, parents, and educators. And we employed the help of an outstanding media producer, Bill Shribman. Bill, are you in the audience at all? Where is Bill? There's Bill, who put this explainer together for us. And now, for the first time, we'd like to show it to you. So if we could roll the tape.
What's the deal with age assurance? The headlines are filled with stories about technology and how it impacts all our lives. It's a complicated time to be a parent. We want to keep our kids safe online, and we want them to grow up to become thoughtful digital citizens. And kids' ages matter. A 7 and a 17-year-old have different online experiences and should have different kinds of protections. Age assurance is one way that websites and apps can help put the right experience in front of the right user. It's the broad term that covers the many ways to figure out the age or age range of a user. Age verification is the most accurate way to know a user's age. It requires more personal information, such as uploading a government ID or connecting to a bank. Age estimation is where companies try to estimate how old a user is. There are many ways to do this, including taking a selfie. Age gating is where users can check a pop-up to self-declare that they are above an age to gain access to an app or a website. There are so many ways people use the internet, and age assurance is not an online safety solution in and of itself. Knowing someone's age is just the first step. The technology we use is changing constantly, and age assurance is a complex concept. There are a lot of approaches and opinions on how to do it. FOSI is here to help. The Family Online Safety Institute is a nonprofit working to make the online world safer for kids and their families. We offer governments, tech companies, and parents thoughtful, independent guidance to solve complicated problems while balancing rights and safety. Figuring out how old someone is without making them provide a ton of personal information is really complicated. Here are some of the ways this is being tackled around the world. They include biometrics, credit card verification systems, government ID, child accounts, parental attestation, self-declaration, bank data checks, document uploads, AI-assisted age estimation, digital IDs, age ratings, facial age estimation, and more. And on top of that, there are key players who have a lot to say about how this gets done. App developers. They need to know how old their users are to provide additional safety features for young people, or to give adults full access to all their products and features. Age assurance providers. These companies are often different from the app developers themselves. They help do the actual assurance process for an app or website to show that a user is a specific age or at least is within a certain age range. And technical infrastructure. This includes the operating systems and app stores who can connect age assurance providers with app developers and then share appropriate age information. At FOSI, we're trying to help the online safety community, from governments to tech companies to families, find the right balance between safety and privacy when it comes to age assurance, to let everyone get the most from the internet. There's no one simple answer here. That said, FOSI believes in a few core principles that we think must be taken into account when company standards and public policies are being considered. These include ensuring the type of age assurance is proportionate to the risk, meaning you probably shouldn't have to upload an ID to use a weather app or a calculator. Uses methods that are privacy-preserving and secure. If users can't trust that their data is safe, these approaches simply won't work. Is easy to use so that kids, teens, and adults can all still have valuable online experiences. And we believe that everyone has a role to play in keeping children's online experiences safer and age-appropriate. As you can see, there's a lot to consider when working on age assurance. Hopefully, you'll engage with these topics when you see them in your feeds, or in conversations with your friends, or with your elected representatives. There's a deeper dive into all this at FOSI.org, where you can read the research and our white papers and learn what all these technologies can do.
Thank you again, Bill. Thank you again, Google. To try and condense that topic to 5 minutes in a way that can be easily shared with, I don't know, your state legislators or your mom was the goal. So please send them to your parents when you get that. It is now available on our website and at the YouTube channel, and we're already being asked for translations, so look out for that too. So to help us dig deeper into this topic, I'm going to hand things back to my good friend and colleague, Andrew Zack. There you are.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Stephen. And thank you, Kate, for being here. We're really grateful for Google's support in the production of this video. And along with an introduction of yourself, would love for you to react to the video and why it's important to start with the basics, the key terms and definitions.
Yeah, sure. And thanks, Andrew. Thanks, FOSI, not just for the video, which I think does a brilliant job of demystifying and taking the complexity down to its component parts, but for your broader leadership. You've done a lot of work on age assurance, so thank you very much for that. Hi, everybody. I'm Kate Charlet. I'm Senior Director for Privacy, Safety, and Security at Google, including working child safety issues globally. One of the things I love about the video, right, is it deconstructs that complexity, but it does highlight the areas that are so important, the tensions and the trade-offs, the areas like privacy, as well as freedom of access to information, and making sure that we're able to navigate those complexities. But it's not because we want to admire the complexity or get stuck in the complexity, but I think it really gives us all the tools to have the conversations that are needed to drive this issue forward.
Thank you for saying complexities, because that's what I was thinking of, sort of, as the name of the session suggests, there are many layers to age assurance, and Google has a stake in many of those layers. Can you walk us through how you see your roles and responsibilities at Google when it comes to age assurance?
Yeah, and first I think we should always baseline on what is the purpose here of age assurance. That really comes down to delivering age-appropriate experiences for youth online, putting the right kinds of protections in place for them. That is the end goal. We want to treat teens as teens, and we want to treat adults as adults. And I think every company in this audience, as we just saw from the presentation from Apple and others, we have protections that we put in place for minors and for youth. We, as Google, I mean, it'd be too much time to reel off what those are, but we don't do personalized advertising to kids. We turn Safe Search on, which filters out explicit and violent results. We turn on a youth-designed experience on Gemini, our chatbot app, and that does include persona protections, so protections around it, pretending to be human or engaging in significant emotional conversations, right? But the question then becomes, how do you know who to apply those protections to? And that's where age assurance comes in. So for Google, we have developed a approach to age estimation, where we use machine learning to take the signals that we get. No additional information needs to be collected, but to use the signals that we have to estimate whether a user is likely to be above 18 or below 18. And even if that user has told us that they are an adult, if our estimation capability assesses that they are likely to be a minor, we will turn on all of those protections that we have for minors.
Thank you for bringing up the machine learning aspect, because I know there's a lot of aspects here to cover. And I know we mentioned our white paper, which everyone did get a physical copy of in the bags this morning. And that walks through some of the credentialing process, some examples of interoperability and zero knowledge proof privacy protections. Can you walk us through Credential Manager? Because that is different than what you were just talking about, machine learning, right?
Yeah, so in addition to the machine learning technology that we apply for our own role in understanding better the age of our users, we also know that this is an area that is challenging for the entire ecosystem. And so we have developed 2 APIs. They're called the Credential Manager API and the Digital Credentials API. They're basically the same thing, but one of them works on Android and the other works on Chrome, because it's important that this kind of capability is scalable. And you can think about it as the pipes or the infrastructure that connects those who need age, the app developers, the websites, with those who have age. Might be an age credential held in a wallet. There are national apps, for example, in Europe that are developing this capability as well. And really provide that infrastructure layer to facilitate privacy-preserving age signal sharing. And building in the technology, we've talked about zero knowledge proof. Zero knowledge proof is a privacy-enhancing technology that's been around for a while, but it hasn't been usable for the use case of age assurance. And so our engineers have innovated to enable that for privacy-preserving age assurance, and we've open sourced it. But I think it always comes down to still thinking about risks and the importance of distinguishing between high risks and low risks. And there are a range of risks online. And so as we're thinking about, in the video, you talked about digital IDs and age verification, right? Digital IDs and age verification should really be, because it is more privacy invasive, it should, and potentially kind of can cut people off who don't have those kinds of things, should be reserved for the higher risk use cases, and less confident methods are for lower risk use cases.
There's a couple different areas I want to follow up there, and thank you for talking about the technical complexities, because as not a technologist, as a policy person, I'm trying to help the policymakers understand where there might be friction or where there might be challenges or unintended consequences or opportunities too. So, working at Google, experiencing, wrestling with these technical challenges, is there something that you've learned through that process of how to be in the weeds of whether it's compliance or getting ahead of that, maybe an unexpected roadblock or a surprising breakthrough?
Yeah, I mean, I will say I've been working on this issue. I have been at Google now for 6 years, and this was one of the first things that was thrown at me when I came to Google. And it is probably the hardest thing that I have attempted to work on, because the trade-off and the complexities are so significant. So I guess the breakthroughs come when we're all in the room kind of together wrestling with it. And so, I think that's why some of the convenings and the industry convenings that you all have held have been so valuable, because if you just do it through one stakeholder set, you're not getting the whole picture. But if you bring in the privacy folks, everybody to the table, that's when you make progress. And I'll say also, where we were a year ago is completely different from, as a community, as an ecosystem, is completely different from today. And so I think the pace is quite significant.
Yes, that's what we've seen as well. It's been a really acceleration both in the technology and the policy. And we're still talking about age assurance for the next little bit, but we don't have to solve it all in this moment. But we've seen in the states, sticking with policy, states, federally and internationally, legislation about age assurance having passed and more is coming. What needs to be improved or changed to get that right? What's a good age assurance policy?
Yeah.
Or what would you like to see?
Well, first I just want to say all the legislation that is out there is well-intentioned. The legislators are wrestling with a really hard problem, and we want to be constructive in engaging with that to find the right solutions. I think no surprise to anybody, there have been proposals out there around App Store-based age assurance that we haven't supported, and that's for some of the reasons that we saw in earlier panels, but we don't think that everybody should have to verify with an ID, just to access basic online services, apply for a job. We don't think that we should be blasting out granular age ranges to millions of developers that don't need it in order to deliver a safe experience. We think parents should be they shouldn't be overwhelmed like cookie consents, right, with consents that they can't even turn off, that could be many times a day, because they don't think that'll give reasonable consents. And we think it needs to be scalable, right? It has to not just work on the App Store, it has to work on websites. You can't just have kids they run into one roadblock, they just head to a website, right? So it has to be scalable. And so, we've developed a framework for how we think this is workable that addresses some of those issues. We think there's been some, good reasonable proposals. There's a good proposal in Ohio, one that just passed in California, and definitely worth coming to the table as a community on.
And that California was 1043?
Yes, yeah, 1043.
You said it earlier, it was in the video. FOSI always likes to say that age assurance is not an online safety solution in and of itself, but it enables age-appropriate experiences, which are therefore safer. So with that kind of table setting, how does age assurance fit into Google's overall work?
Yeah, I think it's such a nice way. It is an enabler, because it's that enabler of then creating that age-appropriate experience. I will say it's also not the only way to provide that age-appropriate experience online. There's a lot of baseline protections, like what we have in place on Search for Everybody. There's a lot of baseline protections that you don't even need to know age in order to deliver. I would also say that literacy and the work that we all need to be doing around digital literacy, AI literacy, that is a really important element of the path forward here. Somebody was talking about the Girl Scouts earlier. We just partnered with the Girl Scouts of USA to do a family challenge and a patch. I was a 12-year Girl Scout, so I wish I could have this patch. But a patch to really understand, our program Be Internet Awesome and how to thrive in the digital world. Because I think, I've heard this before, and I really think it's apt. We want to be protecting kids in the digital world, not from the digital world. And so I think age assurance is one part of that.
Thank you again for calling back to something we've been saying today and what I said earlier. And if I had known the break is up next, we would have had Girl Scout cookies. We do not. Missed opportunity, but next time. But yes, so unfortunately, we are out of time. Thank you so much, Kate, again, for joining us and on stage and for the video. Thank you, Kate.